Is the 5G from your cell phone bad for you? Is it going to kill you? We're going to talk about that today. I'm going to give a brief overview on EMF radiation. What is EMF radiation? What does that even mean? The first thing I need to do is explain, what does EMF stand for? EMFs stand for electromagnetic frequencies. Electric, magnetic frequencies, which are just waves. Okay, so spectrum is huge. The electromagnetic spectrum goes all the way from the highest energy, something like gamma rays, when you put off an atomic bomb. Okay, so something like that, which is massive amounts of energy, to, let's say, your cell phone's frequencies or your smartwatch, okay, which is the lowest end. And we actually create a differentiation and separation in these types of energies, and we refer to it as either ionizing or non-ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation is the kind of radiation that increases the energy within a cell so much that it can kind of pop out an electron, okay? It's able to move electrons between different energetic states because it's so high energy. That will cause, inevitably, tons of damage in the body. Whereas non-ionizing radiation does not have that much energy. It's not capable of moving an electron out of its orbit. But simply put, ionizing, high energy, non-ionizing, low energy. You are all actually extremely familiar with it in your day-to-day life. For example, when you're looking outside and you look at a tree and it's green, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Green. Then delete this part. I'm going to restart. We're actually all very familiar with the electromagnetic spectrum. So when you look outside, okay, if you ever look outside, and you look at a tree and the tree is green, right, or the leaves are green, that is a part of the electromagnetic spectrum. That is just something vibrating at a certain frequency, and that's what your eyes pick up. Same thing with red, same thing, you look up at the sky and it's blue. The visible spectrum is a part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And then you have things that aren't visible, right? So things that are not visible, X-rays, gamma rays. So those are the kinds of things from atomic bombs, like we said earlier. Microwaves, by the way, micro, that's just terminology for the wavelength, micro. Okay, it's like 10 to the negative, I don't even want to say, I think -6, but 10 to the -6, micro. And then you have cell phones, Wi-Fi, laptops. These are all things that are on the non-ionizing spectrum of radiation. So they're low energy. You can't see them, right? You can't see the waves coming off your phone, but they are there. They are there, ladies and gentlemen, and they have been tested. They're there. I do want to talk about where some of these devices are on the electromagnetic spectrum. Your phone is between 0 to 2.4, 3 gigahertz kind of. That's where it tends to operate at. As we're increasing in technology and we're using phones that are, 5G compatible, we're actually increasing the wavelengths or the frequencies that our phones are operating at. Whether or not that's a good or bad thing, something we'll talk about in a different video. It's a bad thing. Your laptop is at 3 to 10 gigahertz. When I'm looking at, let's say, a fabric or something that will block out frequencies, I'm looking at the frequencies that will block between 0 to 10 gigahertz, okay? Because that'll block out cell phones, laptops, Wi-Fi routers, smart devices. We already spoke a little bit about some of the sources of EMF radiation, but I think it's really important to actually name them out, because there are so many of them that you are so unaware of. You might be so unaware of that we are exposed to all the time. You have cell phones, laptops, Wi-Fi routers. You also got Bluetooth, microwaves, refrigerators that are connected. Anything that's a smart device, okay? Anything that's connected. In New York State, we have smart meters on top of our homes. Those meters, they actually produce a pretty large amount of radiation. Boom. There you go. Your Apple Watches, yes, ladies and gentlemen, these wearable devices, they produce EMF radiation, okay? Because they're connected all the time. Your AirPods, those are going straight through your skull, by the way. The waves are literally traveling in this direction towards the center of your body. So these are all forms or sources of EMF radiation that you may or may not be aware of. I think it's really important to say this because people ask me this all the time. There are also natural or not synthetic sources of EMF radiation. So what would that be? Well, the sun. The sun is a natural form of EMF radiation. It produces actually ionizing radiation, right? When you go out and you're checking the UV ray, you're like, oh my God, the UV is 11. That is ionizing radiation, alpha and beta waves. So we are exposed to EMF radiation all the time. What about when you're flying in an airplane? You're actually at a higher altitude. You're closer to the sun. You don't have the same protection as you would from clouds and all of these things. So you're exposed to more EMF radiation. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Now, the question might be,
well, Mikey,
if we're exposed to natural forms of EMF radiation all the time, who gives a right? Who cares? I'll tell you who cares. I care. And you should care too, because the amount of radiation has increased. The amount of synthetic EMF radiation has increased by 10 quintillion times. And zero, I think. So that is a lot. That is a lot of times. So it's important to make that distinction when somebody, says to me, oh, well, we're exposed to natural forms of radiation, the sun all the time. And that, what does it matter? It matters. 10 quintillion times of increased radiation is a lot of radiation. This is a good one. How do EMFs affect the body? You can talk to 1,000 scientists about this, and you'll hear some scientists say, oh, there are no effects. I have basically devoted the past 4 years, 5 years of my life to just studying the literature, okay? Just getting in there, reading articles, reading papers. And what I am seeing, if you want to trust my opinion, is that we are affected in almost every single way, shape, or form from EMF radiation. To make the conversation really simple, obviously we're affected by electromagnetic frequencies. We are electromagnetic beings. That is a fact. So obviously we're affected by electric and magnetic frequencies. Now we have some organ systems that are highly electromagnetic. So the heart, for example, which produces the largest electromagnetic field in the body, the heart. The brain, highly electrically conductive, okay, another electromagnetic organ. Testicles, gonads, okay, reproductive organs for women, so you're talking about ovaries. These are all affected by electromagnetic frequencies. If you look at electromagnetic frequencies and understand that they're waves, they're basically, little wave fronts that have electrons in them traveling towards us, then you would understand that we as humans were highly electrically conductive. If you take an aux cord and you put your finger on it and it makes that sound, that's because we are electrically conductive. Some other simple examples, your brain, when it sends a signal for me to lift my arm up, right? I'm lifting my arm, that is an electrical signal that gets my muscles to fire off. Those are neurons, right? So we have electricity flowing through us all the time. And we are magnetic in the sense that the top of our heads are more positively charged, whereas our feet are more negatively charged. And this isn't, this is conspiracy theory. No, this is just fact. These are facts, ladies and gentlemen. In that sense, it's very simple to understand how we are affected by electromagnetic frequencies because we are electromagnetic beings. Easy. Now, when you want to actually talk about specific mechanisms, it used to be thought, maybe the public was lied to, I don't know by who. It used to be thought that we could only be affected by the thermogenic effects of EMF radiation. So only if something produced a noticeable change in our body temperature, in the brain, in an organ, then we would say, oh my God, this is harmful, like what a microwave does, right? But actually, what we found over the past 30, 40 years or so is that is just the tip of the iceberg. That does not cover even a fraction of the effects that EMF radiation has on the body. The thermal effects of EMF radiation, or especially from our devices, are negligible. They're not even a big deal. Get this, our testing standards are actually performed on thermal effects. But that is something we got to talk about a different time because that is a whole different conversation. So getting back to the conversation, how does EMF radiation affect the body? Well, one of the most understood mechanisms now is it increases the amount of reactive oxygenated species in the body, okay? And reactive oxygenated species are signaling molecules in the body. We all have them in normal amounts, but EMF radiation exposure increases that amount. And they're highly reactive molecules that can cause cell damage, DNA damage, cell death, oxidation, which is basically aging in medical terminology, aging. Who wants to age quicker? Me? No. No, nobody watching this video wants to age quicker. We're seeing other mechanisms. Increased calcium channel influx, which opens up voltage-gated calcium channels. That presents its own set of issues. We're seeing DNA damage. We're seeing increased cell death. We're seeing cancer. Yeah, just recently, the World Health Organization changed their stance on EMF radiation, referring to it as a class 2B carcinogen, meaning that it is a potential carcinogen. These regulatory agencies are slowly starting to catch up. I mean, listen, guys, this is a huge industry. This is a massive industry. The telecommunications industry is one of the largest industries in the country. It's bigger than big tobacco ever was. Boom. Fun fact. Did you know that the telecommunications industry is bigger than big tobacco ever was? Fun facts. Fun facts with Mike. Fun facts with Dr. Mike. So I was just talking about mechanistic ways in which we're affected. So, it increases levels of this in the body, of this molecule, and that molecule causes this. That's very granular. I gave you the least granular, which is we are electromagnetic beings, so obviously we are affected by electromagnetic frequencies, and now I gave you the most granular. Somewhere in between is how do these things affect our organ systems, and which populations are most at risk? First, I want to talk about organ systems that are affected. Endocrine. Okay, which is your hormone system. So testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. It affects your HPA axis, your hypothalamus pituitary axis, which is signals in the brain to the pituitary, which releases hormones in the body. So it inevitably affects your fertility. That's a big one. And there are local effects to fertility, meaning if your phone is by your testicles, that'll affect your fertility. And there are also effects from your cell phone on your brain, sending messages to the body. There's effects on the immune system. There's effects on the cardiovascular system. There are effects on the nervous system, on the central nervous system, which is your brain. And if you yourself were to do a Google search, okay, and type in EMF radiation and brain tumors, you're going to come across conflicting information. Obviously, Google has their own agenda. These massive industries, they know what they're doing. So I would recommend you to do your own research and kind of dig a little bit deeper. Where is this funding coming from? What is this study? What is this? Once you kind of move down that rabbit hole yourself, I think things will become fairly apparent or clear to you. So these are the reasons you should be cautious. So the next question is, how can we protect ourselves? There are many different ways. The purpose of this video and what I'm trying to really relay to people is that in order to really begin protecting yourself and in order to really begin moving in the right direction, you have to be somewhat aware. You can't be ignorant. In some cases, some people will say ignorance is bliss. I totally understand. I completely get that. I think for the most part, though, ignorance is not bliss. When you're truly able to be conscious of your surroundings, of your environment, you will be able to begin making decisions that work best for you. Okay, so I'm not saying throw out your cell phones, throw out your laptops, throw out your Wi-Fi meters. None of this matters. Okay, everything is going to cause cancer. Everything is freaking poisonous in life. Okay, everything. If you drink too much water, you're going to die. So it's really about your dose and response ratio. So I recommend anybody watching this video, do your own research. Look into the size of the telecommunications industry. Like I told you, don't just take my word for it. Look into the various things I said. Go back, EMF radiation and calcium channel influx, EMF radiation and reactive oxygenated species, EMF radiation and DNA damage, EMF radiation in our hormones. Look it up. Go online. And you can go on PubMed, which is a medical database. It's a medical literature database. And you can just read some abstracts and papers and get a basic understanding, or just do a basic Google search. Whatever you do, you'll come across the information that's meant for you. You will come across the information that's meant for you at the right time. I genuinely believe that. I will give just, everybody knows this, some simple tips. Just stay away from your devices so much, because when calculating how much EMF radiation your body, organs, and tissues absorb, we use a formula. It's called SAR, specific absorption rate. And the SAR goes like this. It's SAR equals a bunch of stuff on top over distance squared. And the reason why I say this and mention this formula is because as you increase the distance between yourself and your devices, the amount of radiation that your body's absorbing drops dramatically. So when you sleep at night, get your phone out of your bedroom, get your phone on airplane mode. Take off the Wi-Fi connectivity of your laptop. I do that every night. Okay, these are some of the small things. And as you begin moving down, you're going to start to see different ways in which you can protect yourself. And then I want to leave you guys with just one last thing. I'm not a doomsayer or doomsdayer. Yeah, I'm not somebody who thinks that like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Is this the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, but actually it's not. This is not the end of the world. All of these devices that we come across, they do affect us. They affect us, okay? Because as I said before, we're electromagnetic beings, so we're affected by all of these frequencies coming at us. But guess what? You're also affected by your own thoughts, and the way that you think will affect the physiology of your cells, okay? If you're a positive thinker, let's say, or a doomsdayer, will actually affect the way that your cells are made up. I leave you with this. Stay positive, stay happy. Good vibes, good relationships with people around you. These are also really small ways in which you can help yourself. Help create a strong, energetic frequency around your body, a strong aura, and help you stay protected. So that's what we're here for. A little education about EMF radiation, a little protection, boom, boom, bam. It's all good. Anyways, this has been wonderful for me. I've really enjoyed this, although I'm just talking to a camera. It actually has been fun. I'm genuinely passionate about this, and this is genuinely fun for me. And I hope you guys enjoy this video too. So if you have, or if you haven't, but I'm sure you have, like us, follow, subscribe, check us out on Instagram. We're trying to make a difference in the world. That's what this is about, really. And thank you very much. I'm Michael. I am a fourth-year medical student. I started our company Silver Lining about 2 years ago with my friend, and we are devoted to bringing information about the harms of electromagnetic frequencies, the harms of cell phones, laptops, Wi-Fi routers, radiation, basically. What these things really are, the ways that they affect us. This is a passion of mine. So if you're interested in learning about those things, we would love for you to give us a follow and just stay connected with us. And I'm always here to answer questions and to talk about whatever it might be. Thank you guys so much.